We're back discussing the watershed, and as is the confluence of flow, or the collection of flow from separate areas to be combined in streams or ditches or drained to ponding areas or lakes, is something that can be easily diagnosed for every community. During my research of how to look at our community, I ran across a program called Global Mapper. It's less than $300. Actually, I found it on the United States Geological Service website. I downloaded a demo package and liked it so much. I bought it. I think when I bought it, it was in version 3, and I think what's on my computer now is version 10. It is kind of the Swiss knife of geological evaluation. It can take shape files, it can take AutoCAD DXF files, it can take a scanned file that you might put in or get from your copier and rubber sheet it or pull it around to lay over images or data that you already have. You can, in effect, build a small GIS database with it. A little bit cumbersome, but it can be done. For very small utilities, this $300 investment is really what I think of as an excellent tool that doesn't require a great deal of expertise. Now, how do you find out where your town is, and how do you begin to display data with Global Mapper? Go to Wikipedia, and in Wikipedia, list your town, and you will see basically where the courthouse is, where the latitude and longitude is for the center of your town. And from there, load that information into Global Mapper, and you'll position the data set in the middle of your town. And then from there are aerial photography. Your state GIS service has topographical maps. United States Geological Service has free maps that you can download to begin to view the topography of your community. What we want to build is a geo-referenced body of information. And the bottom layer, in effect, is what's called a digital elevation model. It's a mathematical file that describes the high areas of your community and the low areas. And the standard way of doing or understanding that model is that the reddish areas are highest and the bluish areas are lowest, and the yellows and oranges and greens are in the middle. On top of that, to make sure you're in the right place in the world, you can, for free, download aerial photography. And if you're in an area, or if your state has taken aerial photography, this photography can be quite good. In urban areas, you can tell colors of cars, you can tell if your neighbor's got a swimming pool, you can tell if a new area in your town has just been built, whether the aerial photography is updated. So the aerial photography gives you a known reference to where you are, and it allows you to, because you're familiar with your community, allows you to move around very quickly and notice where problems could exist. Then on top of that, put in your sanitary map, and also include in your mapping of your community where the storm pipes are. So the watershed, as it flows through your community, it will be received by ditches or swales or ponding areas, and could be conveyed through piping system with your storm pipes. Where are they close to or proximate to your sanitary collection system. So what you can do then is develop a map using Global Mapper of your source receiver sites. Those hotspots, if you will, where the drainage flow through your community. I talked about the concept of confluence, or the piping system of the storm pipes can be close to or nearby your sanitary pipes. And I'm talking about doing this. It doesn't require a licensed engineer. It doesn't require sophisticated survey work. Just use the on-the-ground knowledge that you have of your community, along with the freely available digital elevation models, which you can put into Global Mapper. And we presume that you've got some sort of sanitary and storm map. Do the best you can, and you'll be surprised how much is revealed by this slight analysis. I would suggest, though, if you're going to use the software, get to a location that's got a broadband internet connection. If you're on a dial-up telephone, it's going to be laborious and slow. And these files take up a lot of room. So have a pretty current or recent computer with a good amount of memory. It's something once you do, you don't need to do over and over again. But I found myself with my community reviewing, trying to understand. Well, we had this big rain, we had ponding in this area. We'll talk about metering later on in the presentation. Why did the collection system react in the way that it did? So this basically is the concept of collecting the freely available data with a relatively inexpensive program and understanding how your watershed behaves and delivers groundwater to your sanitary collection system. This is from Global Mapper. This is a digital raster quadrangle, and that is freely available countrywide across the United States. That quadrangle is downloaded, and then underneath that is a digital elevation model. In other words, two layers are being shown here. And on the quadrangle, you can see at 10-foot intervals what the topography is, and they fairly follow the digital elevation model, and that produces the coloring. And this is the area of interest for my community. Treatment plant is over here. There's a creek that runs across here, and that's where the treatment plant drains into. You can see there's this higher agriculture area over here, not developed. And that flow then drains toward and through the community by this lower drainage route here. And the rest of the community drains off to a lower area here and here. Quick, brief overview of how the watershed works in our community. Well, what we did then is include the aerial photography. In that aerial photography, you can map out with the polygon created in Global Mapper. 737 acres drain through the community in the area of interest. So a good amount of agricultural land, which during the time when the crops aren't on the ground, particularly if the ground is frozen, snow melt and rainwater can be delivered to the Seward area quite quickly and have a significant effect we saw on the sanitary system. The term georeferenced means that your data, be it aerial photography or other types of maps or your system drawing, is aligned and overlaid to where it's supposed to be in the world. And that's generally, the referencing is done by latitude and longitude or state planes coordinates. It's simply a way of verifying that your in the right place of the world when you're looking at the data. So, on a straight aerial shot, looking down at the photo, part of that 737 acres is clearly agricultural. And what I drew in was, in the yellow lines, where the primary storm collection pipes were. And you can see at this point there's a large retention pond here, and then there is a swale across the farmer's field, goes underneath this north and south road and drains in through the community. So the storm collection system in our community not only served what was inside of the Seward area, but also it served agricultural area. It served a dual purpose. That purpose is predicated by how the watershed is designed. And ultimately, these three legs, if you will, joined together and drained north and then left the Seward area. We could see at this crossing that the 74-inch culvert that served the agricultural ground and those three legs was half full of debris in dry weather. And whereas a former employee of mine used to ride his bike through this culvert, it's obvious that this was a critical change in the watershed and how the groundwater could drain through the community at or during wet weather events. Also notice the type of debris that's immediately in front of the culvert. This is the sort of domestic debris that the regulatory community wants to be removed before it gets into the waters of the United States. And with that debris is also large branches, which certainly doesn't help the conveyance of groundwater through the collection system. The picture was taken, of course, in March of 2004. By November of 2004, you can see the same culvert, but now it's November. You can see lots of leaves and lots of debris, branches, and that sort of thing. Well, what's happening to the watershed? Well, the way that it drained, because of this primary flow path of groundwater through the collection system, the way that it drained was significantly slowed. And when you have clogged storm culverts like this, as it's clogged and floods back upstream, the debris, the larger debris, then can be lifted because it's ponded now and carried to that opening that presents a problem. Now, this debris is also as a result of poor maintenance practices on the banks of the open ditch that's immediately in front of this. For our community, a conservancy district was responsible for maintaining the storm collection system, whereas my utility was responsible for the sanitary side. And by simply going out and cutting branches and leaving them where they lay, that significantly, as you can see, affects what the drainage performance of the watershed was. And later on in December, there was a little bit of it cleared because of my complaint, but you can see that during even a minor rain, that pipe is beyond capacity. You can see debris up in the weeds here. So for a period of time, in a minor piece of rain, you can see debris up in the weeds here. We were surcharging even in the storm sewer. So this change, if you will, of the watershed, the source side, how is it affecting how the sanitary sewer could receive that flow?